Great, good to have you on the podcast. How we always start off is a brief introduction about yourself, the business that you're in, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks so much for having me, Tom. I really appreciate it. My name's Duray. I am the co-founder of Viaduct Generation. We are an e-commerce agency supporting the growth of online businesses through search. So typically we're talking SEO, we're talking PPC, and a couple of other bits and bobs, but really primarily working with e-commerce brands and helping them not pay forever and ever, and make them less reliant on some other channels, and really making sure that search is bringing in fantastic revenue for them.
Awesome. Before we go into what the business does, can you just take us on a quick tour of your career before the business?
Yeah, absolutely fine. So I landed in this country on the day of the riots. I don't know if you remember back in 2011. There was burning tires and loads of looting of shops and stuff. And as someone heralding from South Africa, where I'm actually am now, it felt so nice, right? It's like London welcoming me home. It was so similar to what I had experienced back home. But I managed to go to sixth form there, which was cool. And that's actually where I met my current co-founder, which I think we'll touch on in a little bit. But then after finishing that, lovely universities, very good universities, were very happy to have me. And I was honored to join them. And they were honored to have me for my £18,000 a year up front, please, with no access to student finance. So I was like, whoa, wow. Can't quite do that. So focus primarily in trying to get a job. And I was very lucky to join IBM in their sales training division. So I sat in a room full of fantastic salespeople that were doing great numbers and having great commission checks. And I was like, this is the life I want to be. So then after my year-long internship with them, I then went to a job at Softcats, which is an IT reseller. They're really, really successful. They did an IPO 5 years ago, and they did a fantastic job, but it was a very cutthroat sales environment where it was like, Duray, why haven't you made your 80 calls today? And I'm like, well, I've only got 100 people on the database, guys. So like, I called all of them yesterday. So it was a challenge, and it was very like cutthroat environment where you either made loads of money and successful, or they kind of ushered you out a little bit, right? And I was one of the ushered out. I just about hit my target by the end of it, but it was by hook or by crook, shall we say. But I took some time out. I was like, that's not really what I need. That's a little bit different from the high-flying IBM guys that I saw that were very much like consultative sales led, whereas this was like, why haven't you made your 80 calls, right? So I was then just like pulling pints for a staffing agency, just doing some of that grunt work that all of us need to do before we start our entrepreneurial journeys or join big high-flying jobs. I think it's so important to get some of that like a customer-facing work on your CV. And so there I was, just pulling pints, doing my bit, working at different hotels and so on. And I saw one of the like ads for a telephone answerer. And I was like, great, I'll be calling people all the time. I can answer the phone, no worries. So I joined this company. I went for an interview at a company called Siren Training. They're a health and safety training company in London, one of the biggest now. And I joined when they were turning over 90K, and I spent 4 years with them, and we got them to 980K. Unfortunately, just missing the million mark. But I was their first employee, and it was a great opportunity because that's where I got to get my hands on SEO, on PPC, and actually we were able to see the impact that can have. And realistically, I was able to learn on someone else's money, right? Like I wasn't making the mistakes and seeing the impact on my bank account. I was getting my monthly paychecks. But that was a really fantastic experience for me because it taught me everything that I know today and gave me a good grounding in how business should be done. I then went off to university because I thought, you know what, all of those years of experience have taught me one thing, that I should be a physiotherapist. Don't ask me why, but that's what I went to go study. Okay. Did that for 2.5, 3 years. And Fabio, who I mentioned earlier, my co-founder, and at the time I was running a couple of other different businesses. I had a health and safety training business where I was helping firefighters and nurses start a secondary career out of COVID to help them kind of enhance their career opportunities, called Blue Light Academy. And he said, listen, Fabio called me up one day. He said, Duray, I know you've got Blue Light Academy. I know you're writing your thesis, and I know that you've got a part-time job in Oxford where I studied, and I know that you've got to finish that degree, but you sound like you've got loads of time on your hands. Will you help me build this startup? And of course, I was like, yeah, absolutely. I've got so much time for that. So that's what I did. I started the business with Fabio, and we've been going now for about 5 years.
Very good. So you met Fabio when you first came to England at sixth form.
Yeah.
And then just stayed in touch, and then eventually he reaches out.
Yeah.
Going to come join me, and you go, yeah, why not? I've got loads of time.
Yeah, we've been friends for a long time, right? So he was actually one of the few people that joined the sixth form as an immigrant himself. Like, he came to this country actually not speaking any English, or very, very basic amount. But I was like, when I got to the sixth form, I was like, this is my opportunity to turn my career around, to make myself whoever I want to be, right? Because I come from South Africa. I come from a really strict rugby school, same school where Siya Kolisi currently goes. Grey High School is what it's called, and it's a beautiful, fantastic school and a great establishment, but it was very almost militant by today's standards, right? So I was like, oh, I get to study biology and like psychology. This is amazing. So I got to study these like weird and wonderful things, but I thought, this is how I'm going to like reshape myself, and I'm going to be this, I'm going to kill it with the ladies. And then Fabio, this model from Barcelona, walked in and absolutely ruined it for me. But yeah, we've been friends for a very long time, and he said, I need your help starting this business and getting it off the ground. And we've been pretty successful so far, and hopefully got a long way to go still.
Very good. So the starting of the business then, it's probably the first conversation I've had actually where it's not been like it's been someone coming to them rather than them starting the business. So I'm interested to hear, like, and is it a coincidence that it's sort of linked into what you were doing at the current job with like the SEO stuff?
Yeah, I think maybe not so much of a convenience, not so much of a coincidence, but ultimately Fabio is one of the world's best SEOs, right? He has a fantastic experience managing brands like L'Oreal, British Airways, Jet2 Holidays. His CV is pretty amazing, and especially from like a technical SEO, which is like it's a technical sub niche of SEO that is not understood by the big SEO community, and is very much appreciated by enterprise and established brands. That's where his skill set really lay rather. And what he needed was a yin to his yang, right? I understand SEO as a concept. I understand basic implementation, and then I can tell businesses and brands what they need to do to get where they want to be. He's the guy that can actually do it on a consistent basis. But yeah, it was a good experience, and I think working with your friends is never easy. Like, there's challenges that you face, but I think Fabio and I draw a nice line between professional and friends. When we're friends, we're not talking business. We try and just hang out as friends and look after each other and check in with how we're doing personally. And he's asking me about the cricket, my cricket team, which I love and adore, and I'm asking him about his kid, and we're just talking as friends. And we make sure that we kind of separate that time to have friend time and work on our friendship as well as just business. But if he's calling you during business hours, we're there to talk business. So I think working with your friends, and I've worked with a lot of them, is a challenge. But I think we managed to be on the right side of that more often than not.
Yeah. What point do you go full time with this?
So I had a couple of other bits and bobs, as you imagine. But I basically went full time for as soon as, maybe not 9 to 5, but certainly 40 hours a week. And I was in a position where I had a little bit of savings. My living expenses were really low, and used that as a way to essentially work for free for about 18 months before I started paying myself. So a lot of other big and established agencies probably have some sort of funding. They start with $500,000 and give themselves about 18 months runway, and they hire 2 or 3 of their mates that have worked at a previous agency, and that's how this wonderful agency is born. Whereas Fabio and I are just like, hey, have you worked in an SEO agency? No. Have I worked in an SEO agency? No. Tell you what, shall we just build one? And we've built one that actually works, and we focus on really making an impact, not just looking at driving traffic, but real revenue. And that's why our clients stay with us about 25% longer than most SEO agencies keep their clients.
Very good. Interested to hear then, because you've come from the jobs that you've done have given you like a lot of good experience, especially in seeing both sides of how sales can be done. How is the transition of now having to run a business, manage clients, then start to bring people in? Is that a shock to the system, or is it, and you're not actually paying yourself at this time, I guess, as well? So is it a shock to the system, and then is it like, oh no, what have we got ourselves into at some points?
Yeah, I think certainly during the early stages, unfortunately, we didn't have enough money to pay others, right? So if I had to learn graphic design, there's me learning how Canva and YouTube at 2 a.m., figuring it out, right? I don't actually have the capacity to pay people. So we relied on a lot of goodwill and a lot of friendships that were willing to help us out, because obviously we were trying to build something that is actually meaningful. I haven't actually touched on it, but a lot of why we started Viaduct Generation was to support Black-owned businesses. That's why Fabio kind of came to me at the start. He said, after the murder of George Floyd, there was a real ambition to make an impact in businesses that otherwise couldn't afford it. So Viaduct Generation primarily serves businesses that otherwise haven't had the luxury of affording something like SEO, which is traditionally quite expensive and confusing and built for enterprise, right? But what Fabio realized is he's saying, well, I'm helping all of these established brands and none of them really look like me. And seeing the impact on that and doing our own research, we were able to identify that 0.02% of the top 10 to the top 100 businesses in the UK are Black owned from a search perspective, like the people that get the most amount of clicks. So yeah, that's kind of where it really stemmed from. It stemmed from a really good place, and we still dedicate our profits to charities that support those communities, and we do a little bit of work in terms of making sure, like last 2 years ago, we managed to sponsor over 2,000 days of education through our partner CamFed. So the business has a kind of a nucleus of making a positive difference in this world, and our friends were very keen to support us with that. Today we're an established agency, and the goodwill of friends can only last so long. If they're good at what they do, you got to pay them a fair wage. So eventually that's what we did. We really focused on expanding our inner circle and seeing who can refer their friend to do a similar job. And at the start, it's really hard because you're paying someone else and you're not even getting paid yourself. And you're like, damn, this is annoying. Like, I'm putting in so much more work and so much more time. But ultimately, it's been a great experience. I've loved every second of it. And I wake up on a Monday morning and I'm excited to get to work. And I think that's a luxury that few have. So while it's this good, I'll stay smiling and stay positive.
Very good. Yeah, it's good to hear that that's what the business was born out of, is to do something good. Something I want to ask you about actually then is you're doing, like, the business is born out of goodwill and wanting to make a difference. The flip side of that is that these businesses haven't been able to afford the usual services of SEO. How do you make it so that it's worth it, I guess, in terms of, like, you are a business at the same time as well, and you want to, make profits, make money, and then in order to get to where you are today, how do you go through that process, and what does the structure look like, I guess, of, do you just have to work with more clients in order to get the revenue, or is there other ways around it?
Yeah, so I think we've been quite creative in doing so. So at the start, our intention was to exclusively work with underrepresented businesses, or this is businesses led by women, led by people of color, led by Black-owned businesses, but without the kind of branding to establish yourself as a market leader, and it's difficult to do so, right? So what we now do is we work primarily with e-commerce businesses, and we dedicate a percentage of our profits to supporting communities and charities that are actually activating and doing good stuff. And then for any business that considers themselves underrepresented, we offer a significant discount on our services. So we reduce our margins quite a lot to just make a positive difference. And actually, that's okay, right? Because we're able to produce great case studies for these businesses. We put all of our, like we work with some great charities like Young Epilepsy, where we hardly take any margin at all, but we're just great to be established with a brand that's trying to make a positive difference in this world. So I think from our side of things, if you had to ask me what directly do, we offer more cost-effective services to underrepresented businesses or businesses that are led with purpose in mind, like those charities that I mentioned. And then secondly, we take our profits from those brands that we work with, those e-commerce brands that we work with. We take our profits and we say, hey, instead of just keeping this to ourselves, let's build up the communities that otherwise need this and things like that.
I think that's a really good way of doing it, I think, because you can look at the like, we're only going to work with these types of businesses, but you also have to run a business at the same time. You have to make money in order to be able to, be able to pay yourself eventually, and then and start to build up that way. So I think that's a really good way of like, it's almost a pivot in terms of like, we are going to make more money, but we're also not going to forget about these people as well.
Yeah, exactly right. You got to remember why you started the business. And I think where agencies can go wrong is that a lot of them look like each other. There's a lot of beige agencies out there that, who do you work with? Anyone who's willing to spend money. I heard someone say the other day, that maybe a little bit itchy inside. They're like, I'm willing to work with anyone with a budget and a pulse. And I was like, ugh, like that just doesn't sound great, right? These agencies that are kind of generic. What do you do? What do you need? Like, well, they'll sell you anything because all they're doing is they're utilizing a freelancer, slapping on a margin and shipping it out in a nice document. So I think, yeah, trying to make sure that you stand by why you started the business is key for us anyway. It's making sure that when we always look at either our internal team or the clients that we have, and the kind of corporate social responsibilities that we like to maintain. Are we doing enough is always the question. But yes, you're absolutely right. It has to balance that out with, are we making enough? Are we keeping going? Right? Does the next 6, 12, 24 months look positive? If so, then great. Yeah, we can put more into it, and we can put more time into training and speaking opportunities and educational activities. Absolutely. But yeah, it is a tough balancing, I guess, your skills and making a profit, but also making a difference and being a purpose-driven company.
Yeah. You mentioned before we started recording that you've got some challenges that you had, like growing in the early days. Do you want to take us through some of those and how you overcame them?
Yeah, I guess some of the key challenges a lot of founders have is how to scale up sales. And that's never an easy task, as you are well aware. A lot of agencies and service-based businesses typically won't have a better salesperson than the co-founder of the business or the founder of the business. Typically, they have a fantastic skill set. They've got experiences to rely on. They are able to understand the nuances and quite often are more likely to ask those direct questions that are not going to waste them time, right? They're more likely to say, well, why is that, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, rather than the salesperson who's just be like, yeah, absolutely, sure. So I think it's founder-led sales, I think is really strong. And I think that can always, the enthusiasm that I would potentially have on a call, I would struggle to find that similar level of enthusiasm. And ultimately that's right? No one should care about your business more than you do. So I had to kind of be okay with that and just make sure that I set like really strong KPIs in terms of what activity I was expecting from my team at the time. So I think that was a really big challenge, scaling up the sales. We now take more of an inbound approach where we're trying to be everywhere. As you know, how important it is now, instead of focusing too much on outbound activity, there's a capacity at how much you can possibly do on that. Whereas I think building up our personal brand and building up some activities to drive inbound is where a lot of agencies are going to in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I've pretty much said this on every podcast that I do, but me and you both are probably not old enough to be in business 20 years ago, but it's like it's gone back that far in terms of relationship building. I would guess you probably did do some outbound in the early days, and
Oh yeah.
probably got some good success from it as well. But now it's just taken a complete dive because it's so noisy. Like there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition that want to work with e-commerce brands, especially. So like being able to stand out from that, and yeah, it just all comes down to trust. Like if they're
Yeah.
seeing you every day, and they can get to know you without actually doing virtual meetings, because and like buy on their own terms is what we say, not on yours.
I think you're absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you're absolutely right there, Tom. Like, I think in particular, this is something we're seeing in search, right? Is that because of AI and because of the amount of information we all have at our disposal, people are engaging sales later on in the journey. They're doing a lot of their information gathering prior to actually getting in touch, which is a shout out to anyone considering SEO, because it means that if you're not, all of your competitors are getting those leads and are building up that trust before you are. So we're seeing that actually in search at the moment, where everyone's like, oh my God, ChatGPT is going to destroy SEO. 80% of the searches, no, sorry, 70% of the searches, as of a recent study done by Datos, a SEMrush company, recently showed that it's very much only 2% of the searches that they're getting are transactional. So e-commerce brands that are looking to sell garden furniture or kitchen repair units or lovely tables like this one, they don't have too much to worry about right now. But people are engaging later on in the journey. And that's why you need to move fast when those leads do come in. But the information that we all have at our disposal means that 10 years ago, people were calling up and going, can you talk me through some of your products? Can you help me identify what products would best suit my situation? Nowadays, they're like, I know I need that. It's either that or this. Tell me why, which one, and then let's have a conversation. So I think you're absolutely right. Like if you can make sure that your content is everywhere and you start having and building up those relationships earlier on in the sales cycle, when then that person or that customer might be looking for your services or might realize that they have a challenge that they want to get solved, you are still the guy. Ultimately, people buy from people. And there's a person that decides, hey, you know what? I like the look of Tom. He sounds like a nice guy. Let's do business together and see how we go. And in the same case, from my side, right? Like it's very similar. It's a very similar sell in the same extent, because we are both selling the promise of betterment, the promise of, hey, I can do a better job than what's currently happening on in my case on your website, or in your case in your sales funnel. So yeah, it's about making sure that you build those relationships early, and that once you are able to convince people that you are the right guy, it's about then making sure that you really deliver on it.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. We're definitely aligned on that. So that's good. Let's bring it up to date then. And do you want to take us through, we touched on a little bit of what the business is now and who it serves, but you just want to take us through that in a bit more detail, and then we'll go into maybe some case studies that you've got as well.
Yeah, sure. So typically we're working with e-commerce brands at expanding their SEO and amplifying their voice on search. We are developing a PPC offering as we speak. So that's quite exciting and something that we've been probably should have done a few years ago. But I feel like there's so many jack of the box agencies out there, and we really only want to sell something once we're confident that it's going to make a significant impact to the revenue of the brands that we work with. So at the moment, we offer SEO and CRO and email services to e-commerce brands. We have seen some really good results, particularly with brands that have in-house teams. So marketeers that are watching this, if you are a little bit disappointed with your SEO, do have a chat with me. I'd love to see if we can be a better fit for you. In terms of some recent case studies, we've been lucky to work with some really cool brands. We've made a big impact in brands that are in the restricted marketing space as well. So typically brands that can't advertise on Facebook or PPC. That's where it's a really competitive SEO game, and we particularly love that challenge. So we've actually managed to take a brand to 5x organic traffic in the last 6 months, bringing them now up to about 18,000 hits per month, which is super exciting considering they were nowhere near that 6 months ago. And the old saying of SEO takes 6 months to work is nice to put a myth to that and say that, yeah, SEO can work. We've 5x traffic in 6 months. So that's a nice one. And that case study will be out there shortly. And then another one, which has been that was in the tobacco space. So they were actually a tobacconist, where they are kind of selling different types of tobacco and so on and so forth. And yeah, it was really good to see that success. The second one is a one that's kind of a lot closer to my heart. They are a charity collecting clothes and like household items. They're like essentially a business that is, instead of the charity shop, what they do is they are the mobile charity shop, right? And they will collect your items of clothing and your unwanted stuff. And instead of you schlepping it off to the charity shop, they will repurpose it and support people back in Africa as well by doing so. But it's a competitive space. There's a lot of people that are willing to do that, and there's margin to be made. So they were actually spending £1,000 a day on their PPC. Year and a half ago, they got one audit from us. We sell our audits at £3,000. So they spent £3,000. They got this massive audit, which looked at all the technical factors, all the content factors, the authoritative factors, competitor analysis, and like a 12-month SEO roadmap. And they were like, guys, that sounds really good, but bear with us. We're going to give it a go ourselves. And I checked in on them and I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's the point of the audits, right? We sell SEO services and we sell audits. And the audits is like, I don't want to pay for 12 months. I want to just dip my toe in the water and check if you guys are pretty good. So they did that, but maybe we were too good because they managed to stop PPC completely. So they went from spending £1,000 a day on pay-per-click to now spending zero, which is nice to see. And it's nice to know that was for a business that's also got that purpose in mind.
It can be like a really good thing, that, and then it's like, if they'd have gone and implemented something that wasn't too good, then we could have worked for them for 12 months, but then it shows that you're good at what you do as well. So it's like a mix.
Yeah. You know what? Like, if it would have been great to say it to you on this call and this podcast to say that was all us, like a fair doff of the cap to their team because they were able to implement it and execute it, right? But I had this chat to Fabio where we were like, damn, it would be nice to get more credit for that work and stuff and the ongoing revenue of that, right? Because from saving them £30,000 a month, there's no problem with them investing 10% to that on SEO. But I'd rather be regarded as the company that's going to make such a positive difference through just one audit than these other consultants or agencies that kind of string you along and we'll do this next month. And no, like, let's deliver great work. Let's tell people about it. Let's deliver great work. And if people want to work with us afterwards, great. If they don't, let's still deliver great work. It kind of reminds me of that saying where these two senior business people were arguing about how do we invest in our team. And they said something along the lines of, we're spending so much time investing in our team members and some of them are going. Why should we continue to invest in training? Why should we continue to upskill these individuals for them just to go? And the other business person said, well, what happens if they don't go? Like, what happens if we don't invest in them and they stay? Isn't that surely worse? And I think that's the same thing, right? Like, just deliver great work. Deliver the results that are actually going to move the needle. And it's great to see that businesses can actually take that and implement that. Great. That's fantastic. We're happy to make a positive difference.
Yeah. And it does come back at some point. Like, if anybody asks them about how they're doing this year, they're sending them to you. It's like,
well, not their competitors, right? But I think he has actually, the business owner has actually referred us to someone else, which is positive. And just, ultimately there's too many gatekeepers in this world, right? If you have a strategy that works and something that is actually going to make a difference, why would you gatekeep that? Why would you not go and tell people and help people? Whereas I think in the past, because of maybe the lack of access to the world's information, salespeople and consultants could gatekeep a little bit and string businesses along. We're trying to take a different mindset and trying to make SEO more accessible and more exciting.
Yeah, good stuff. We're getting a little pushed for times. Yeah, we'll look into the future a little bit, whether that's for the business industry. You mentioned AI earlier, and the talk of will AI kill it off SEO and SEO agencies. I'm sure you've got some stuff to say on that, but what do you see in the next maybe few years of industry? And you mentioned that you've got a PPC offer that you're building as well, so I guess that ties into that as well.
Yeah, so we're keeping very busy at Viaduct Generation. We're building PPC offering, which will be ready to launch in about 2 months. We are also building our own e-commerce business, so that we can put our money where our mouth is and show people how good we truly can be with SEO, and let the numbers do more of the talking. So we're really busy here, and SEO is changing all the time already, right? So making sure that we stay on top of that and stay on top of how AI is moving the needle there and what things we can do. I think the key thing that a lot of people maybe understood or maybe were worried about was, no one's going to be using Google anymore. Everyone's going to be using ChatGPT. In 2024, Google got 5 trillion searches. They've still got a large majority of the market share, right? And ultimately, I think publishers are going to struggle a little bit, because those that are relying on ad revenue might struggle, because let's say we Google something now, particularly something that's maybe not transactional, like where's the best place to eat in Cape Town. Google might produce an AI overview talking about the great spots to eat. It then might have a local listing, and then might be some ads, and then there's the SEO actually down below. And particular for publishers who are looking at like providing being a thought leader in the space, where they are kind of making their money back through ad revenue. Nowadays, Google is providing the answers for those informational based search terms before you even click. So these brands that were providing fresh newsworthy content and kind of content related focus, they now are not getting as many people onto the site anymore, because when I'm asking for chicken based recipes, I've got a recipe that I don't even have to click into. So that's going to be an interesting seeing the way the publishers change their model and how they try and fight back for that market share. I think e-commerce businesses are in a really interesting space, because some of the core fundamentals of SEO are still really apparent, right? Making sure that your website is mobile friendly, that your content is helpful, not written by AI. Quick shortcut, if anyone's listened to this podcast that has the entire website written by ChatGPT, we've got really bad news for you. Google hates it. So I think some of the core fundamentals of web design and of websites themselves are still going to be in place for a very long time. But e-commerce businesses particularly just need to focus on diversifying where their traffic sources may be coming from. So Reddit recently has taken a really strong increase in organic traffic, and YouTube is a fantastic way to diversify it, as well as everyone's favorite social media these days, which is TikTok, where I am actually now on TikTok after fighting it tooth and nail. My marketing team have totally told me to get on there, so I'm not quite dancing yet, but I'm on there. So I think for e-commerce brands particularly, making sure that SEO is in a really good place allows them to forecast and be more sustainable with their traffic, and then it allows them to do fun experiments, right? Because if you know that you're getting 20, 50, 100,000 clicks a month through search, you know what the conversion rate looks like, you can forecast the revenue. And then it allows you to be a bit more creative to say, okay, shall we try TikTok Shop? Shall we try Amazon? Shall we try really building something on YouTube, and so on and so forth? So yeah, I think SEO is a fun place to be in, and search is a fun place to be in. And it's just about making sure that either you have enough capacity as an internal marketeer to stay abreast with all of the changes, or you hire a great agency to do that for you.
Awesome. If people do want to hire a great agency for their SEO and they want an audit that's going to save them £30,000 or whatever it was a month, where can they find you?
Yeah, I am all over LinkedIn. So find me, Duray Pretorius, on LinkedIn, or our website is viaductgen.com. That's viaductgen.com. Yeah, feel free to check out our website there, or alternatively, find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks for Andre, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for this e-commerce brand that you're bringing out.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. It's going to be a fun experiment for sure, and a good opportunity to diversify back from my day-to-day role as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks so much for having me on, Tom. I really appreciate it, and it's great hearing some of your insights as well.